All right. Good evening and welcome to the October 26th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast on cable channel 15 and streamed online by FCTV. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, what can be seen and heard in your background. I'd like to thank our staff for their continued support to this commission and their diligence assisting applicants. And a shout out to Justin Shanahan, our IT exec. Thank you for your assistance. At the moment, we're short a couple of commissioners. However, we do have a quorum. I'd like to remind you guys for commenting. I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time so we won't speak over each other. Also, all votes have to be done by roll call. When I call your name, please state your name and your vote, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are located on the agenda. Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 regarding COVID-19 allows for full public participation. Therefore, if you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, please let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Regarding RDAs, I have a new narrative I stole from Courtney. Under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the act and or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project can proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the act and or the bylaw do in fact apply. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. Therefore, as an applicant, you want to hear a negative determination. And for the benefit of anyone waiting for a particular hearing tonight, and so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, everything's being continued except for 2 RDAs. So there you go. First up, request for continuance under a notice of intent. Ronald Simmons, manager, Hammond Pond Parkway, LLC, 14 Ridge Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to replace decking and to replace and relocate 2 float sections on an existing licensed pier.
Yes,
Jen?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until November 2nd.
Okay. Anybody want a motion to that effect?
Reluctantly, I will motion to approve a continuance till November 2nd.
Freitag, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue this until November 2nd. There's no questions. All right,
You know
we're
why?
voting.
Oh,
Sure.
There was I think the consultant had a conflict tonight.
Oh. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, with the motion and a second to continue until 11/2, we're voting. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Freitag, aye.
Steve?
Aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. It is continued until 11/2. Next up, Constance M. Ryan and Andrew Doyle, 151 T-Ticket Path, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to extend the existing revetment, construct access stairs, and nourish the bank. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until November 30th to allow additional time to respond to the commission's comments.
Anybody?
O'Brien, I make a motion to continue the project until November 30th.
Thank you.
Freitag, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this till November 30th. It's been explained why. There's no further comments. We're voting. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Freitag, aye.
Steve?
Aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. It is continued until November 30th. Next up, Mario Kula and Josephine D'Angelo, 9 Sycamore Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling on pilings to remove an existing shed and to construct a utility platform and a gravel driveway. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until November 2nd. They dropped off revised plans for the project this afternoon.
Okay.
Again, I make a motion to approve the continuance until November 2nd.
A question. May I be involved in this, and as I was not at the meeting when they were first in front of the board, or had nothing opened in front of the board?
Nothing's been opened.
That's
yet,
been
Melissa.
Okay. Then Freitag will second this.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till 11:02. There's no questions. All right, Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Freitag, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have continued this until November 2nd. Next up are requests for a continuance to amend an existing order of conditions. Karen and David Howe, 0 Vineyard Street, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4580 to adopt the special conditions associated with the Department of Environmental Protection's superseding order of conditions. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until November 30th. The superseding order at the state level was appealed by the neighbors. They did have to go through the appeal process through DEP. I believe there's an agreement that has been reached, but the presiding officer at DEP has yet to sign the superseding amended order. So they're waiting for that.
Got it. Thank you. All right, anyone?
Before we get into this again, I don't believe I was present for this one either.
We haven't opened this yet, Melissa.
To amend an existing order of conditions.
You were there. You weren't part of the existing the original project, but you can be part of this amended project. Okay. And if you'd like, we can send you the original order of conditions.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks.
No problem.
Go, Kevin.
I'd make a motion to continue it as requested. Could I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So our order of conditions was appealed by the neighbor and they negotiated a new order of conditions?
No,
and then they're going to hand it to us as a agreed upon?
Well, okay, so Steve, let me see if I can explain this real quick. So the project was appealed. So we issued an order of conditions. They, I can't remember who appealed it. I think Howe appealed our order of conditions. It went to the state. So they had to file with Superior Court. That stayed. Then they were working through the DEP process. So the DEP goes and issues a superseding order. A lot of it, the reason they appealed our order of conditions is we were asking for a ground survey. They've negotiated with DEP, the neighbors and everything else. They have a set of conditions that they'd like to come back and present to this board and see if you would amend the local bylaw order of conditions to match the superseding by the state. It doesn't mean you have to, it just means they're requesting that you look at their new set of amended or request to amend their order of conditions and see if you would agree to it.
Thanks for that clarification.
Not a problem.
Question?
Okay.
The superseding order,
Mhm.
if it can't, it would also be subject to our approval. No?
No, because it was appealed.
Okay.
The state took over the project under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
One of those
Freytag, second.
confusing ones. Thank you.
Mhm.
Maybe what we should do, Jen, when this comes up on the 30th is, if you guys don't mind, just prepare a little history to it.
I will. Yep.
You know,
we can do
because
that.
some of us remember it, but I wouldn't expect everybody to. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, be happy to.
Otherwise, I think it's kind of simple, really. But, all right. Do we have a motion and a second to continue this till 11:30? There's no further questions or comments. All right. We're voting. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Freytag, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye. Did we have a second?
Unanimous?
I did.
We do. Melissa seconded it.
Mhm.
All right, next up is request for a continuance under an enforcement order. Stephen Guiglio and Kathleen Tuhig Guiglio, 192 Secondusset Road, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted clearing within conservation jurisdiction. And
Yes, they have requested a continuance to November 30th. I do believe they're still working on their plan, correct, Alyssa?
They are still working on their plan and they would like to submit a notice to remedy the situation. So they're trying to organize those on the same night so we can open the notice and close the
Okay.
enforcement.
efficient. All right,
Once again, I missed that meeting. So,
wasn't opened.
oh, it wasn't opened? Wow.
No.
Okay, great. Then I will move that we order a continuance, or we grant the request for a continuance under an enforcement order for 192 Saconaset Road. We'll take it up again on November 30th. Freytag.
Patton, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till 11:30. If there's no other questions or comments. All right, we're voting. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Freytag, aye.
Melissa? Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous, again, with this quorum, to continue until 11:30. All right, next up, requests for determination of applicability. First up, Dan Celine and Chris Horiuchi, 91 Adamancet Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to replace an existing terrace and sidewalk, remove 2 trees and a portion of the existing terrace, install a drip strip, and install native plantings. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Anyone?
Move approval, O'Brien.
Patton, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any questions or comments? Melissa?
Question? Are they going to be replacing the trees? It says install native planting, but
Let me double check. Josh had evaluated this project.
yeah. I understood that they're hazardous, but I'd like to see them plant some trees.
Chairman, Dan
Yes.
Celine has his hand raised and would like to address Melissa's question. Can I, may I promote him to panelist, please?
Oh, yeah. Yes, please.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Dan.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much. I appreciate the chance to address the question. I'm Dan Celine. I am
the owner of the property along with Chris Horiuchi. Yes, we will replace the trees and we will plant new native trees. We would like to take the trees down because they appear to be hazardous to the long-term condition of the cabin.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir, for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. We're voting. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Freitag, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up,
Right, Dan.
Stephen
Thank
P.
you.
Bowen, 24 Boston Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise RAZE an existing dwelling and to construct a new dwelling, reconfigure the driveway and install dry wells. Ms. Bergeron.
Thank you. Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this is a flood zone only project.
Yeah, I was going to ask that for Courtney. All right.
You got to read the notes. And I would make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second, O'Brien.
Are they going to RAISE, the new dwelling above the flood zone?
They're going to completely reconstruct it, demolish the existing, reconstruct.
And comply with current codes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just double checking. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. If there's nothing further. All right, we're voting. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Freitag, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next 5 agenda items have been previously continued. That brings us to vote orders of conditions. First up, Edward Martin, 62 Pequawset Avenue Realty Trust, 62 Pequawset Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. The quorum is all of us.
Okay. 1 second, Mr. Chairman. I'm promoting Courtney up so we can vote on these orders. Oh, here it comes. West 6. Oh, okay, yeah.
This is this one.
So this was for proposed deck and addition in the front of the house, deep into McGansett. They were adding some native shrubs. And I have a note here, finding on fill. And I know that, I think Betsy asked a question on the fill and I can't for the life of me remember what it was.
She just wanted him to do the calcs for the cut and fill.
Oh, okay, so I'll
We
make
agreed
it.
it could be done as a finding.
She wants them in the file, so I'll make it a special condition that.
Correct, right.
Okay, special condition, cut and fill calcs.
That's the only note I had as well.
And then all your
Hi, Court.
standard conditions will apply.
It's a quick meeting.
Hi, Courtney, we're at vote orders of conditions.
Holy cow. You guys
All
are
right.
good. Probably because I don't talk too much because I wasn't.
Oh, I've been talking
Hey,
enough,
hey.
Courtney.
Anyway, okay.
All right, anybody have anything particular they want to see in there? All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the order conditions as discussed.
I'll make a motion to accept the order of conditions as discussed. Patton.
Freitag, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. If there's nothing further, all right, we're going to vote. Courtney?
Bird,
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Tug, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. And for the record, the quorum changed. We added Courtney Bird. Next up, Stephen Scher, 44 Uncantina North, Falmouth, Mass.
1 second, Mr. Chairman. I like to keep.
That's the one where they're rehabilitating,
Oh.
they're removing the patio.
Quorum is all.
Yeah, so have a few notes. You're right, Melissa. This is the one where they're removing the patio.
Bringing it back to compliance.
I know Maury was unhappy with the low bush blueberry in that location. We can suggest some other types of shrubs and give them a choice. Or do you want just to eliminate the low bush blueberry and us come up with some other, 1 or 2 other species that would be appropriate in that location?
I'm okay with you guys suggesting something. I mean, working with them.
I believe
Melissa?
Maury's question was more about the logic of putting the low bush blueberries where they were and having the taller beach plums where they were, and she thought that they should be swapped out for a better view, not quite realizing, of course, that the room and the roof deck can see over the beach plums. I think the neighbor chose it that way, I think maybe to allow the neighbor to have a view still. I think it was literally just logic. She didn't know the logic. I mean, does anyone have a problem with low bush blueberries? I mean, the birds and the bunnies like them.
This bird.
Oh, I'm okay with the suggestion, Mr. Chairman, as well.
Yes.
Okay. Jen, the other note I have is I think we believe there should be a little more mitigation to make up where they had it under the oak cluster.
Yep.
Yes.
Let me.
Oaks cluster, is that proper English? Yeah,
Cluster of oaks.
sure. What she said,
The oak stand.
bunch of trees. All right, anything else anybody want to see in there?
Yeah, I have revised plan with area around oaks, recalculate mitigations.
Ms. Bergeron?
I also had a note, I think maybe from Maury or Mike Borselli, adding a limit, a wattle along the limit of work until the mitigation was established.
Mm-hmm. Please.
There was also a note about potentially having the unpermitted structures removed by a date certain, but that's up for you guys to discuss.
That's right. We were talking about having them do that sooner rather than later. So so that the coastal bank has more permeability.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't create any other issues.
Yeah, that area was pretty flat back there.
Yeah.
So if you wanted a date certain to remove the patio, because remember, your order of conditions is good for 3 years. If you don't put in that patio needs to be removed by a date certain, this could drag out for 3 years. So
is it cruel if we ask them to do it before the new year, or is that too fast? But if they remove it before planting season next year, then they can get moving right away. Planting
Yeah, I mean, I would give them at least 90 days.
Yeah.
okay, so
My
November,
opinion,
December, by
February
the end of
1st.
January.
Give them February 15 in case we have snow, blah, blah, blah.
Get snow on Cape Cod.
We do.
Yeah, that works.
February 15th. Okay.
Yeah, they were here on October 19, so that gives them 4 months.
Okay, perfect.
Anything else? All right. What's your pleasure?
I make the motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed this evening and recommended by staff.
Bird, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. If there's nothing further, all right, we're voting. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Right dog eye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Nicholas and Louisa Diezo, 105 Meadow Neck Road, Falmouth, Mass.
The only thing, this is, they were doing the proposed patio, a walk, and a kayak rack. This is amended. I have transition just to do a special condition, just to make sure that there's no pavers in that A buffer zone, that we transition from pavers to wood chip mulch or wood chips in that area in the buffer. To wood chips, mulch. And the only other and then I have a revised plan with a distance from the coastal bank, and I think we wanted the distance to the patio from the coastal bank, just so we have it. And then the staff had made the recommendation to remove the kayak rack from the V zone because the board does frown upon freestanding structures in a velocity zone.
Again, for the record, the quorum is all 5 of us.
So on that revised plan, Tom would have to show a new location for the kayak rack located outside the Falmouth velocity zone.
That's a condition, right?
If you guys voted, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Anything else?
I'll make a motion to accept the order as discussed, including the kayak issue.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. As discussed, there's nothing further. We'll vote. All right. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Right dog eye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, vote order of enforcement. Glenda Whiting, 74 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, Mass. Is this Jen or is this Ms. Bergeron?
I think we can both tag team this one. It's a small area. I mean, it was pretty bad violation, but the area of the salt marsh, remember she had removed all of the mature baccharis and was burning it in the back marsh. So Olis and I have conducted several site visits out there. The marsh is coming back, looks really good and really healthy. So we recommended to the board not to touch that. There is an area where there was a planting area. It's pretty well defined. So our recommendation is to remove all those railroad ties from the high marsh, dig out that old garden soil, and then plant that whole area with baccharis and high tide bush and groundsel. Alyssa, I believe you went out there today with Maria Hickey to flag the site and know exactly where it's going to go. And I think the desire of this board was to have that area planted sooner rather than later. So I think Alyssa wrote up the decision. We just have to add the findings to that enforcement order. If you had a chance to read it and review it, if you want us to add anything, I can read it to you if you'd like.
I don't think you need to. Ms.
Okay.
Bergeron, do you want to add to that?
I just wanted to add that I did send some photos along with the draft decision just to show the areas that were staked to be replanted. The first photo shows kind of a bare area in the salt marsh where some of the plantings didn't come back. There's the clearly defined former garden area, and then an area to the other side where a boat is currently being stored. So that will be removed and that area will be revegetated as well.
Perfect. All right. I think kudos go out to the staff for working on this so quickly. Maria Hickey as well for taking this on and offering to get it planted sooner than later. And of course, the homeowner for dealing with it. I mean, it went pretty efficiently once we got through the first piece of it. All right, comments. Melissa.
Yeah, Alyssa, please, if I may, Jamie, what's the blue thing in that image?
That would be the old boat.
That's a boat.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
Okay.
I believe it was attempted to be dismantled and removed in pieces, but it was still difficult. So Maria Hickey will bring in her crew to remove it in full.
Okay. And then I actually have a question for staff. Do we ever talk about maintaining things in perpetuity?
Not in perpetuity.
No. So how long? I mean, I know that we're going to have reports coming in annually, but I don't believe I saw how many years. Monitoring reports should be submitted once a year by October 31st. Reports to be submitted, but it doesn't say when the reports end. Is that
Usually it's a
10 years
3-year time period, Melissa.
3 years?
So we know that the area has been established, has become established and is thriving.
We can add that in.
Do we get to say anything? Yeah, okay. Do we get to say anything about, they shall not do this again?
We can add that language.
They shall not mow the marsh again? Something along those lines?
Yep,
please?
we'd be happy to.
Thank you.
We can add that in. And Alyssa, I think we need to add some language in about removal of the boat too.
Yes, we can. Do you want to give that like a date certain? Or is that just in the findings state that that area will also be removed?
Well, she's going to be planting that area, correct?
Date certain.
And so December 15th?
I'd go November 30th. They got to get that planted.
Fine. November 30th.
Okay.
Steve?
Sorry, go ahead.
Staff, go ahead.
Thanks, Steve. Melissa, perhaps on number 6, we could augment that number in the decision to include, because usually when we have mitigation, we have it ongoing with the deed. It's the survival of the mitigation. I don't know if we can do that under an enforcement, even though it is an order.
Well, it's going to be registered with the county, right? With the state. Does this go to the registry?
Enforcement orders, let me double check with council if they can record them onto the property.
So I'd like to see something along. So you're suggesting number 6 would be where we say, the marsh shall never be mowed. Okay.
Yeah, we can beef that up to more represent the situation and different to some generic language.
Yeah, that would be nice just to remind
Long quote.
them. Thank you, Alyssa.
No problem.
Jen.
All right. Melissa, you good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, this is a reverse case of some of the other ones where we can't do something for one particular member of a family. In this case, I think the ownership's going to change. Hopefully, I would like to see this all done before that occurs, which, I'm not sure it's imminent, but it is something looking forward to by the current owner, I believe.
Okay. Courtney?
Yeah, it just goes to my point. I assume that this enforcement order will be recorded with the deed, and it just like an order of conditions.
I'll double check that, Courtney.
Because I think that's important, because if, otherwise there's no mean, so the lot gets sold. I mean, the next person along, there's nothing there. So I'm with Melissa on this.
Okay. When we flagged them for non-compliance, did something go to the state at the same time, or does that happen? No. Okay.
No, but we can. I mean, when we write up our enforcement order, we can definitely send a copy to the state.
Okay.
So the state is aware. We would absolutely do that.
I would like to see these things get recorded with a deed. I mean, certainly a notice. If they file a notice of intent, that gets recorded automatically. But if it's just a straight enforcement order, I would assume it's filed. I mean, otherwise, what's the purpose of the enforcement order?
Okay.
It does.
I will. You know what? I will shoot an email to council tomorrow, and I will have an answer for you.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Yeah, not to belabor it, but I think the important point here is that it's dealt with before ownership changes. I mean, that would be the goal.
Absolutely.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed, including the items brought up this evening.
An order of enforcement, Steve.
Yeah, enforcement order, Steve.
Why, did you think I said something else?
You said order of conditions.
I'm just kidding. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion.
I talk second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an enforcement order as discussed. There's nothing else. All right, we're voting. Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa.
I talk aye.
Steve.
And aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an enforcement order. Thank you all concerned. Next up, under other business, we actually have two things. One of them's not on here, so bear with us. First up, update on erosion at EC Cape Cod LLC, 836 Palmer Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. Ms. Bergeron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jennifer and I went out to the property on October 20th to view the site. And after walking around, taking some photos and reviewing old photos, nothing appears to have changed since the last time staff was out there in June. Everything still appears to be stable. No evidence of washout. The rocks are still in the same place.
Thank you for doing that.
Jen, do you have anything to add? No problem.
So,
okay.
Are you saying nothing's changed? It's still eroding?
No, Courtney, nothing. When we say that, I mean, there's still the scarp there, but they have the whole site stabilized. There hasn't been any additional erosion since June.
Okay.
We went out because you guys were concerned after that big rainstorm at the beginning of last week. So we went out, and as Alyssa said, the jute matting appears to be in the same place. The fallen boulders all are in the same place. There doesn't appear to be any erosion, silt, or washout anywhere. It's pretty stable.
But there's no vegetation on it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Why?
Remember, this is the thing that's been continued. That's why we asked them to check about erosion.
Because you wanted geotechnical calculations, Mr. Bird, and they're doing them right now.
Okay.
So this has been continued.
We also
Ty
have
and Bond is
Don't
waiting.
interrupt, please.
Ty and Bond is your consultant. They're waiting in the wings. They're one of their major comments to the board was going to be to have the geotechnical calculations done, and that is what they are working on right now. So that is why it has been continued, and that is why I think the board was a little concerned after the last big rain and asked us to go out there and just make sure everything was okay.
You good, Court?
Good, Court?
I mean, just how long has it got to take them to crunch some numbers?
They're working on it, Courtney. I mean, we have this continued until...
It's like December, I think.
Where's my little... Oh, did I leave it? Oh, I must have left it.
16 December, maybe?
Yeah, I think it is in December. Oh, wait, it's right here.
And if that's a date we've given them, I mean, that's fine. I just think
Actually,
I don't know why it
November
should take them this long to come up with some calculations.
November 30th, you'll be hearing them, Courtney.
Okay.
So we just want to make sure in the meantime, it's not getting any worse. That was the point of that exercise. Melissa, you had something?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we think that this is going to last a lot longer than November 30th, do we want to sort of have in the wings a plan to have them at least seed the area to get it through the winter? I mean, it's getting a little late to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what worries me.
It's-
A good portion of it is vegetated. I think there's a lot of knotweed out there. It's really that rift in the middle that's not vegetated. And even though staff's last visit was in June for similar reasons, the site hasn't changed since before then. It's quite stable.
Okay.
Melissa, we were in the middle of it. We went down below and walked on the base of it. Then we went on the top and looked on way down. We crawled all over it. It's not moving.
Okay, the middle. I didn't get into the middle of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for doing that, girls, and not hurting yourselves. I hope. No injuries, Jen.
No injuries. I've been injured enough.
Okay, so we're seeing them in a month, and hopefully they'll move forward with a peer-reviewed study, because this is the one we asked for. The
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, next up, just a note on the agendas. I got kind of hung up on, we got a whole bunch of, updated agendas for tonight. And I just think it's unnecessary. My personal opinion is we should get one like on Friday that's officially posted, and then get the, if you will, the latest, maybe final one like Wednesday afternoon of the meeting, as opposed to getting one every day that has one minor change. That's my opinion, so you guys can disagree with me. It is what it is. We get requests for continuances and such. I'm not sure I need to know that every day. Melissa?
I was hoping that maybe we could change or have a subject line that says updated agenda or amended
revision
agenda,
date,
something like that.
Okay.
With the date, just so we know that it's amended, as opposed, because it was the same subject and they all sort of piled into the same email, and it was.
No, we've talked about it internally. We will send one out on Friday, and we will send the board we hope to be the final agenda Wednesday afternoon. We do need to keep the website updated, so we'll update the website as we go, but you guys will get one on Friday and then get the latest and greatest on Wednesday afternoon.
Theoretically,
if anything comes in after that, we'll just let the chairman know and he can make the announcement.
But theoretically, there should be no new projects to actually examine after the Friday posting, correct? If anything, we're just deleting things, basically?
Basically.
Okay.
It's just requests for continuances. We're not adding anything.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Courtney?
You covered the ground, Jen. One just on Wednesday afternoon after the original one is fine. We don't need interim ones.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, that's all we have, folks.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh, wait, did we vote the continuances for the?
Yep, we did.
Oh,
We did that all at the beginning.
We're good.
Steve?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, if we issue an order of conditions or an enforcement order, it's clear in this project that work had been ongoing prior to our issuing an enforcement order. Is there a date that the clock starts once they get a piece of paper in their hand? Or when does that, if we give them 30 days to do something, when is it from now? Or
It's from when they receive the written document, Steve. So we'll get that out to them tomorrow.
Okay.
But that's usually why we put a date as opposed to 30 days or something like that.
Mhm.
Thanks. That's all I had. I'd second the motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Freitag, aye.
At and aye.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank
Is
you,
that a
everyone.
record?